No! Hello. Alright, let's start laying the groundwork. Marvel has received critical acclaim for creating a vast multi-layered universe spanning multiple films, TV shows, genres and characters. From your Iron Man to your Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., from your Age of Ultron to your Daredevils. Despite not being perfect in every single way, Marvel has had a ripple effect on the film industry. Every company and their mother is trying to cash in on the franchise business now. The Boys has been gaining a stellar reaction from audiences from its bloodier, grittier, hornier view of the superhero genre. From your sexual harassment to your sexual fantasies, despite its poor decision on the second season release and even poor reactions, The Boys has set the stage for a much darker view of heroes that audiences do want to see. And I've told you all this information because we're not going to talk about any of it. Well, we will, just not now, because I want to talk about this scene.
Don't worry. She's got help.
And this scene. Today, I want to talk to you about how these scenes made me feel, how they did that, and why I think one is better than the other. I want to start off by saying this is the first time I'm making this type of video, so only expect greatness.
He's cheating on us! I'm scared!
Nah, honestly, I'm going to probably come off very clunky. Literacy was never my strong suit. I can read fine, but I can't write a structured paragraph to save my own life. And when I try and read a full sentence, I stutter like a bitch. So please let me know how I've done and how I can improve in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. Or, you know, just tell me I'm a cunt. That's cool too. I'm not really a movie or TV series reviewer or movie expert, if that's even a fucking thing. But I want to share my thoughts and opinions on it because I think it's kind of interesting. And now I feel the uncontrollable urge to share my opinion on the internet. Personally, I wouldn't say I'm a massive Marvel fan. I was fairly fatigued by the Marvel machine. It's too much! And DC was just disappointment after disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. Until recently, they're getting good. The Boys is like an extremely twisted take on the superhero genre that I really enjoyed and really didn't see coming from Amazon. And it really got me back into the superhero genre. I feel like these scenes can be fair enough compared to one another despite them coming from two separate mediums and industries. Well, not industries, well, companies, I guess. Both of these scenes are trying to convey a similar message just in very different ways. Both are a part of the superhero genre, just wildly different takes on it. Marvel being the traditional take, a fearless, empowered, unpowered individual fighting for the good of mankind, i.e. Captain America, and The Boys being a subversion of those tropes, i.e. Homelander is actually an antagonist, narcissistic psychopath who can and will kill anybody when he feels like it, but is revered as like a patriotic hero in the public eye. So good! The main talking points I want to go over are the characters in the scene, atmosphere surrounding the scene, and the purpose of the scene. I should have mentioned again, this is just an opinion, so hear me out before you want to spray acid in my eyes. And I'm going to try my very best not to be biased as well. You know, I'm probably going to struggle. So what I want to do first is just go through both scenes like play-by-play and then go through them both analytically. If you can fucking call this that. Okay, let's start off with the Endgame scene. So our boy Spider-Man is taking a little bit of beating. He's like 16 years old and in the middle of World War III. Captain Marvel flies out to make sure he was alright whilst an oncoming wave of enemies is coming. Spider-Man questions how she's going to deal with such a large group. And then we pan out to see Captain Marvel being backed by her fellow heroines or heroes, whatever your noun preference is. They all look to one another longingly and then head out to battle. So I actually quite like this scene when the first time I saw it. It is pretty satisfying seeing all the women come together to protect Pete. They aren't just stationed behind the main character from the film they came from, bar Captain Marvel. Coming together to have each other's back, I love that kind of shit. But it does come off cringe. This scene did also trigger a lot of debate about how women are represented in film. Some felt this scene was pandering, others that it wasn't earned, and more others felt like it was actually empowering. I actually think it was kind of all those things, but I'll talk about more about that later. Okay, now let's look at the scene from The Boys. Stormfront comes down to fuck shit up and get some payout for being exposed as a 100-plus-year-old Nazi by 4chan. She starts off by trying to kill the son of the man she's having blood sex with. Kimiko overcomes her trauma and embraces her inner Joker. Then the fighting begins. I'll be fully honest, the fight scenes in The Boys are very inconsistent and just cut pretty shitty sometimes. I mean, look at the training scene that Maeve does. It's like, what is even going on right now? It's terrible. I'll get back to it, sorry. Stormfront blows up Frenchie's weapons and breaks Kimiko's neck. Starlight and the boys try and fight back and fail, and all seems lost. And then...
Hey, crowd.
Fucking Maeve out of nowhere comes and starts fucking up a German. Kimiko cracks her net back into place because we all forgot she was basically immortal. Starlight comes in with the critical hit and then they just start kicking her to death.
I shit, you nasty bitch!
I love it. Okay, we looked at both scenes. Let's just jump right into this.
You challenge me, mortal? A god of Olympus?
Characters in the Marvel scene. So here in the Marvel Endgame scene, we've got basically every main girl from every other film in the universe. Each having their own motivations and backstories. God damn, this is the wrong part. Captain Marvel, a Kree-human hybrid who lost their memory after receiving cosmic powers from the Tesseract and getting their blood transfusion on the Kree homeworld. With the help of young but old Nick, she's able to regain her memories and fully harness her full potential with hating white men.
Am I saying that I hate white dudes? No, I'm not.
Wanda from Age of Ultron is a native, what was it called again? Sokovian? Sokovian? One of them.
Sokovian.
He first joins Hydra and then Ultron alongside her brother in an effort to end the suffering of her country until she realizes Ultron's true intentions of destroying the human race and cuckolds him with vision.
A pinch of paprika. A pinch.
The one that's too far away from 4. How the fuck do you say these names? Okay, oh no, I don't know, fucking. From Black Panther, Wakandan native, head of the armed forces and intel for Wakanda. Pepper Potts, Tony Stark's on and off again girlfriend and on and off again wife. Mantis, empath with the ability to sense people's emotions and alter them. Shuri, the princess of Wakanda and the sister of Black Panther, may he rest in peace. Gamora, the adoptive daughter of Thanos and trained to be a ruthless assassin. Who is then killed by him because that's what daddies do. Nebula, who went through the same adoption and training but had the plus of getting her body parts ripped off when she failed. But you get the point, right? Each character has gone through their own personal story arcs, played crucial parts within the overarching storyline, therefore they deserve a place in this scene to an extent. I do think some deserve to be there more than others. Some of them feel like filler. Funny enough, none of them even got the name and description of the video where I started to clip from, which is irrelevant but kind of funny. But you get what I mean, right? They deserve their time in the spotlight for the sacrifice they made to get to this point. But it does feel like someone is missing. Some of you probably heard this already, so you wouldn't mind hearing it again. Yes, she unfortunately died before she was able to share the spotlight. Her and Hawkeye fought over who should be the one to die for the Soul Stone, and she won and at the same time lost. I personally was surprised that it was Black Widow that ended up dying. It felt like it was going to be Hawkeye due to him falling into like a murderous pit of depression and then leading to like some sort of redemption. But no. Her death did stir up a lot of controversies surrounding the character and the arc she had throughout the movie series. Vanity points out Black Widow's history as a character who only ever really worked in service for someone else, helping Captain America confront his past, helping Bruce through his Hulk issues, which I do agree with. It did feel like a character was just used as an aid to the main cast and like the token love interest for every character. Like, will they, won't they, will they, won't they? Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFry, the writers of the film, were quite aware of like how polarized it would be to it would be to kill off the MCU's first female superhero. Even asking the opinions of the other female crew members on the set, what they thought, most of them being against the idea of taking away from a big moment, which I get. This is her big moment, making the ultimate sacrifice for her new family and half the universe. It just felt like it was being overshadowed by a lot of stuff. Black Widow was one of the founding members of the Avengers, the first female Avenger and one of the most crucial people in getting the Avengers together. Don't quote me on that. When the snap actually happened, she takes a leadership role trying to, keep order. So she like undeniably deserved to be there the most. But she doesn't. I'll give it some leeway because I'm a fencer. Due to the constraints to its format, you can't really give every side character a lengthy backstory as much as the main character. As much as Black Widow is a big part of the Avengers, much of her time was spent as the side character to another Avengers story, even though there was a fair amount of push for her to get her own standalone film. This isn't to say that the death given to us was unnecessary, it just felt like she deserved more, if not the most. I'm gonna look like such a fucking simp after this comes out, like Jesus. Starlight, Kimiko, Queen Maeve. Every character that deserves to be in this scene is in this scene, and I fucking love it. Starlight, after achieving her dream of joining the 7th slowly but surely, well, quite quickly to be honest. Her dream is shattered. The heroes that she was looked up to are morally corrupt, fame-hungry, and downright psychopathic murderers. Whilst trying to expose this dark side of hero culture, she was also forced to make hard decisions and question her own moral compass. Kimiko, once a young Japanese girl living on the coast of Japan with her family, is taken. FBI, open up! Her mother and father are killed by the Shining Light Liberation Army, and her and her brother are forced to join and serve them. Though she was able to eventually escape, she's then smuggled and used as a guinea pig for Compound V. Despite all of her trauma and grief, she did actually keep her resolve to find her brother and return home. Or not. Queen Maeve, the second most powerful of the seven and the embodiment of the Yeeters. Started off bright and hopeful, she then beaten down by the world around her and then reduced to a numb and cynical little bitch. These three have gone through hell. Starlight was sexually assaulted, lied to by everyone including her mother since birth. Kimiko was abducted and experimented as a lab rat, and Maeve was just forced into isolation by Homelander. It's so satisfying to watch them get a meaningful win against a very serious threat. None of them feel out of place in this scene. Even the boys are in the scene and they're just sidelined, and it works because they can't do fucking jack shit. I'll say this is where the boys has the advantage due to its format as well. Characters are getting more fleshed out backstory, so you get to see them struggle with decisions and stuff, and their motivations change over time rather than coming full circle by the end of a movie. It changes throughout the series, I guess, and they evolve. What does happen in movies, but like, because it's like it probably happens in that one movie at a time instead of like over a couple episodes. Hopefully that any of that made sense. I will add though, it is kind of bullshit how Maeve just kind of appears out of nowhere. Like, you don't see Maeve go beyond like a walking pace throughout the entire series, so her getting all the way out there in the nick of time is a bit but you know, I'm willing to let that slide because of the payoff.
You may sit, you nasty bitch!
Okay, on to my next point. The atmosphere of a film is the mood that is given off by the current scene or film overall. This is gonna be done with color, soundtrack, visuals, and camera work. So let's take well, there's no films around me. The Reverend, very gritty and violent, cold. Everything's very quite desaturated, which sets a very depressing tone. Slow panning close-up shots to convey a character's situation and feelings, pain, rage, desperation. Blade Runner is very atmospheric with its use of sound and music. Thomas Flight has got a video about atmosphere in film, and he explains it much better than I just did. Links in the description. But moving on now. So for the Marvel scene, what feelings are being showcased here when you watch this? What is the mood being given off? Warmth, reassurance, hope, solidarity, name a few. You feel inspired when you watch this scene. You aren't worrying about these characters because the strength they're radiating, the dominance. These are strong characters before you right now, and that's a good thing. But it also works against the scene as well because they come off too strong. There's too much dominance. I feel like that this has been a general issue with Marvel films, honestly a lot of films in general, and the main character is literally indestructible when it comes to their beliefs or their bodies. Like, anime is just notoriously bad for this, but, you know, but I digress. They just feel strong for the sake of it, and it feels empty. There's no threats. So on the flip side, the enemies in the scene come off very weak. Obviously, you may not like a villain, but they add and manipulate the atmosphere as much as the main character does. Like when Darth Vader enters the scene in the ending of Rogue One. You know he's in control as soon as he shows up on the screen. Obviously, these guys look very intimidating, but it's just hollow. I mean, if like Thanos himself was charging in there, I'd be like, oh shit! I mean, they already killed Black Widow. You know, none of these characters are gonna die, except Iron Man, obviously. And this is where the boys contrasts that, you know, subverts it, you know, juxtaposition, big fucking words from Trey. As Stormfront enters the scene, the atmosphere changes. Shit hits the fucking fan. Fear, uncertainty, Nazism. Stormfront is on the same power level as Homelander, so you're not even sure if they can beat her. Everybody even rallies against her. Kimiko's even like, I'm gonna shove my boot up your pussy. Her and Starlight start going at her, and then, you know, she has her fucking neck snapped. Honestly, at the time I was just like, are they gonna fucking die now? Like, what? But obviously May comes in with the save and the atmosphere changes again. I can't even describe the atmosphere here. I'm just fucking hyped. Like, could you imagine a scene where 3 women trying to kick a 100-plus-year-old woman to death being a positive thing in real life? Well, now you don't have to. So smart. The atmosphere in The Boys is constantly changing. It's like a back and forth depending on what character in the scene. The atmosphere within the Avengers game is more consistent. Both have their pros and cons, but I personally feel that The Boys was able to manipulate their atmosphere for more satisfying scene. They don't even use their power, they just literally kick her on the floor. Like, she's garbage. Another thing that makes this scene and others within The Boys work for me is the sheer hopelessness that overcomes the atmosphere whenever a villain comes on the screen with, alongside, say, Huey, Butcher, or even Starlight. There's nothing they can really do against such an impossible foe. Butcher basically tried to kill himself twice when he's faced with Homelander and Black Noir. Within Marvel, the vast majority of the time, they're heading towards evil, trying to stop their evil plans.
Alright, chums up.
Ready, guys?
Let's do this. Leroy!
They're trying to do that in The Boys as well, but at all costs trying to avoid direct confrontation. The scaling of power in The Boys is heavily on the side of the villains. None of the boys even have any powers. It's just Starlight and Kimiko, and even compared to the villains, they wouldn't even stand a chance. I mean, it's shown time and time again. So I know that's a bit of a tangent, but I just wanted to throw that in there. Remember, I can say I was going to be biased. Shit. Purpose. What is purpose? What is my purpose?
You serve zero purpose. You should kill yourself now.
Purpose means the reason that something is done or being made. I'm gonna flat out be honest here. I think the Endgame scene lacks any purpose. Not in a bad way, but why is this scene here? I mean, how can you not take that in a bad way? Oh god. Spider-Man asked how Captain Marvel will deal with the Horde, but I'm pretty confident she could have without the others' help. She's been showcased as the news powerhouse of the Avengers. In her own film, she's planned through alien ship like they're nothing. She doesn't. I bet she does in this film as well, actually. I bet she does. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty confident she can handle a faceless Horde. Why are any of these other characters here, honestly? How are the women are all just available at this precise moment? It just comes off very forced. If, say, the Wakandan women or the alien that sends people to sleep or Hawkeye were struggling, because they would realistically in this type of situation, and then say Gamora or Captain Marvel came in to help out, then I'd be like, yeah, sweet, girls looking out for one another. But instead it's just the other way around. The Wakanda woman's like, she's got help. Like, what? This woman's a fucking walking nuclear missile. She didn't need help from a woman with a fucking spear. Let me just say as well, I've got nothing against actresses in this scene. I think they did an amazing job, and I couldn't really imagine anybody else playing these characters now. But I just don't like the way the characters were used. I feel like each one of them had so much more potential in their own right. It was wasted. The scene itself doesn't feel unique. Can imagine any of the superhero cast doing the exact same scene. They're not being put in a unique situation in which their own skill or power can help resolve it. This scene serves no purpose than just to get the females together for no reason, just to showcase girl power, which ain't bad. It ain't bad. It's just hollow. It's being done to check a box instead of actually showing how powerful these characters could be working together. And this feels kind of patronizing. That undermines the whole purpose of trying to showcase the strength of these characters. In The Boys, where, you know, juxtaposition, none of these characters could handle Stormfront alone, or fucking even together, really. It takes the combined efforts of Kimiko, Starlight, and Maeve to beat Stormfront. And all these characters are needed. You could argue that Maeve could have handled Stormfront on her own, but that's debatable. I will admit the power scaling can be a little wishy-washy sometimes as well. You know what I mean, right? They aren't just there because they're women. They're there because they're the only characters that can handle the situation. I can imagine any other character in this scene, but I can only imagine these three doing this in this scene. You can replace anybody in the Endgame scene and just still be the same. You can't with this scene though. You swap these three with the boys and they're already fucking dead. In conclusion, pussy ain't free. As much as I've shit on the Endgame scene for being lackluster and empty, I am personally happy they at least tried. Like, I'm disappointed, but you tried. Bronze star from me. I mean, they didn't have to put this scene in here at all, realistically, and some say they shouldn't have, and I see why, but I'm happy they tried at the very least. As cringe as it came off, there are a lot of different ways this scene could have been better. At the same time, there's a lot of ways this scene could have been a lot worse. And I don't think this should take away from the achievements and moments they've had from their own films. I don't think what I've said today takes away from any of that, or should take away from any of that. Christ, I'm such a fucking fence it. I believe from here that they can only really go up. I'm happy that this did generate more conversation as well. Better for people to talk about this and like how they can improve. I don't think it's possible for any movie or show to get it perfectly right. That's just impossible. But if they're willing to look back and improve on their mistakes, then I'm happy.
Press that like button, it's right down there. I know you've seen it.
Also, I'll be honest, representation within film and the most mediums doesn't matter to me at all. Characters could be white, black, Asian, or an Eskimo, or a part of the religion of the flying spaghetti monster. And I wouldn't really care. I just like real characters and good storytelling. Lately, there's been a massive push for better representation, and I've been torn on it. Obviously, yes, seeing more women and people of color within film and games would be cool. It does feel like sometimes there's a sea of white faces, and there are people whose identity is linked to the color of their skin. Personally, I don't feel that way, and they would like to see their race better represented within these mediums, and I get that. But if it's just empty stuff like this, then what's the point? It's like the same shit with a different color paint on it. But at the same time, if we get stuff like this, then I'm all for it. I think that concludes the video. Check out The Boys as well. It's on The Graveyard. That is Amazon Prime Video. It's a good show. Give it a chance, please. And that's it. Subscribe and fuck off.